Music, dance, paint, and language. What exactly are these art forms expressing, and how do their interactions reveal new perspectives on music itself? Let me start by showing you this following graph. In his two major books concerning the spiritual art and point and line to plane, the expressionistic painter Vasily Kandinsky combines music and arts in a revolutionary way. And this is actually from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Buckle up for a dense video where I present to you in 4 dynamic stages, mezzo piano, piano, pianissimo, and pianissimo, the sheer amount of possibilities how, when, and why music is visualized. The sun occasionally flashes through the misty clouds, its rays descending upon you, and each time they touch you, they bring a feeling of warmth and serenity. However, from time to time you experience a slightly pressing sensation in your head as the air grows thicker and more humid, as if rain is imminent. Dark clouds are forming on the horizon, and you can already perceive a slight tremor in the air. A storm is approaching. This landscape painting was painted by the Italian Salvator Rosa, who may have been one of many inspirations for the Venetian Baroque composer Antonio Vivaldi and his nowadays highly marketed but still genius composition called Summer from his Four Seasons. Stage 1. Mezzo piano. Pictures and sound. Music paints. Figurative music, as the name suggests, follows the principle to shape music into a figurative motive or something that can be considered objective. Another word that may grasp the concept better is programmatic music, where compositions reflect real-world phenomena like Vivaldi's Summerstorm. These narratives emerge through small coherent motifs that either mimic specific sounds or represent objects. Consider this: the whip motif from the Crucifixion of Jesus, composed by Heinrich Ignaz Franz Bieber in his Rosenkranz sonatas. Modern day parallels would be found plenty, specifically in film music, where different motives signify a character. I mean, think about protagonists having a own score. Or one specific motive comes to mind if we are talking about the movie Jaws. The musical visual partnerships serve actually 3 purposes. 1, they enhance storytelling through logical, relatable motives. 2, they increase memorability of both painting and music. 3, they make abstract art forms more accessible through the concrete connections. Even highly mathematical or geometric music, like Johann Sebastian Bach's Canons and Fugues, belong here. although we'll revisit them later to explore their architectural qualities. Other great examples for programmatic music are Peter and the Wolf from Sergei Prokofiev or Pictures at an Exhibition from Modest Mussorgsky. Both pieces support existing narratives through music. Peter and the Wolf being an especially good parallel to Jaws because of the mimification of multiple animals in each segment.
The bird will be played by the flute, like this. Here's the duck, played by the oboe. The cat, by the clarinet.
But what if you want to go away from figuratives? The world is more than figuratives, right? Emotions, atmospheres. How might pure color sound? What makes blue different from yellow? Which brings us to the second stage, stage 2. Beyond the surface, emotion meets form. A good introduction to color music contextualization would be how great thinkers like Isaac Newton, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, or Arthur Schopenhauer tried to understand color in a more meaningful way. Newton first demonstrating that light breaks into colors with a prisma, laying groundwork for understanding light's dual particle wave nature. The foundations to color psychology can be found in Zur Farbenlehre from Schopenhauer and especially also Zur Farbenlehre by Goethe, where he explains his observations how color is perceived also emotionally and socially. Here's a small excerpt from Goethe's book Zur Farbenlehre. A great modern-day example that combines color with music in a specific way was Disney's Fantasia, where the musical input was used as a base to visualize atmospheres, motions, and specifically emotions. Motions that move in a specific way or that come with a distinctive dynamic. Thick, thin, big, small, fast, slow. These parameters usually stay, and they have to stay, but the possibilities of interpretation opens up because what counts is also the inner subjective impression that you connect with it. The French composer Claude Debussy's impressionistic music especially evokes these visual atmospheres inspired by the impressionist painters like Claude Monet, Auguste Renoir or Vincent van Gogh, where both Debussy and van Gogh had a great affection for Hokusai's Great Wave. And both had their inspired works with it. Van Gogh later's painting style, which he is most famous for, and Debussy's La Mer, where the ocean is the main protagonist. With subjective experience being more welcomed and appreciated, another sensation went more into the limelight, with it synesthesia. Stage 3. Breaking boundaries, where colors create new realities. Synesthesia in general can be subdivided from two synesthesia definitions, which one is projective synesthesia, where you really see the colors in front of you while music is played, in contrast to the much more common associative synesthesia, where colors are imagined but not actively seen when music is played. There are even researches on the possibility of acquiring projective synesthesia by training. I will link some medical publications down below in the comments. Neurobiologically, synesthesia can be explained as a hyperconnectivity of brain areas, which shows through a specific input like color or music, or also with taste. Electromagnetic waves, meaning color waves, or mechanical waves, meaning sound waves, being recepted into electrochemical signals and then interpreted by the brain based on the given biological tools that we got, which triggers simultaneously the other brain region in people with chronesthesia. Alexander Scriabin, a famous pianist and composer, documented his chronesthesia extensively, associating specific colors with particular tones. Though some debate is still ongoing whether his synesthesia was genuine, it still inspired me to program a software. If you have a Windows PC and if you are interested to test out which colors Scriabin saw in particular, I will give out this software for free for whoever likes this video and writes Philosophissima to the moon in the comments. Now, the real revolution of color-music relationships came with the theoretical framework developed by the German artistic group Der Blaue Reiter, including the likes of Gabriele Münter and Wassily Kandinsky, also being a synesthesist. The Blaue Reiter existed from about 1910 to 1914 and ended because of the First World War. This artistic collective, including German composer Arnold Schönberg, revolutionized abstract art and atonal music simultaneously. Gurrelieder was his composition at that time, where his composition's harmonics took a turn from tonality to atonality, from harmony to disharmony, from harmonious to abstract structures, also symbolized in a break.
So tanzen die Engel vor Gottes Thron nicht, wie die Welt nun tanzt vor mir.
Fühlend rieselt der Tau zu Tal, Sterne schießen und schwinde zumal, flüchtend durchraschelt der Falter die Hecken, springen die Frösche aus feuchten Verstecken.
This marks a significant break in Schönberg's composing style, and also for the Classical Music Society as well, because after Gurrelieder, he dedicated his work into a new constructive approach called 12-tone music, based on an egalitarian approach of notes, which serve as a new structural framework, where every 12 notes in the musical line have to appear before any other of the notes appear again, instead of a harmonic framework where tonal harmonic like G major, D minor, transition serve as a framework. Particularly notable here is the parallel with Kandinsky's transformation or metamorphosis that happens in a similar time frame to Schönberg's transformation from still figurative paintings to complete abstract paintings, and Gurrelieder being worked compositionally on the orchestration at the time, while Blaue Reiter was still active. So the main concept here is also trying to get into a new position of creative freedom and develop new frameworks from it to tell a different story, and change dogmatic and hegemonic narratives and the lack of innovation from an ongoing crisis, which American physicist and science philosopher Thomas Kuhn described in his book The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. Questioning the seemingly objective and the dogmatic and deconstructing it while preserving in a dialectical or symbiotic way structuralist approaches can be seen also in structuralist thinkers and philosophers like Jacques Lacan, or later post-structuralist thinkers like Jacques Derrida, Michel Foucault, Simone de Beauvoir, or modern-day post-structuralists like Judith Butler. Let's bridge the gap from subjective chromesthesia to our last stage of space-time relativity with a scene from 2001 Space Odyssey, where the music was composed also by a synesthesist, György Ligeti. Let's start with a fundamental point, which is the point. In music, it might be a single note. In art, a dot on canvas. In physics, the positional probability of an electron or photon. So if we add the dimension of time, our point begins to move, creating waves. And this is where stage 4 truly begins. Stage 4. The quantum dance, where structure defies logic. Through Kandinsky, you might get a good grasp how to approach this journey through dimensions. You have to imagine that the point has no dimensions because it's timeless, so it's 0 dimensions. With time, the dot becomes a line, expands into a plane, which is 2 dimensions, and builds into a space, our 3-dimensional space, and exists through time. Kandinsky even addresses in his wave graphs the propagation of disturbance in the waveforms in this specific picture. What I mean by propagation of disturbance, I will explain right away. Just have in mind, this isn't just abstract theory. It's exactly how we experience both music and visual art. A single note becomes a melody through time. Multiple melodies create harmony in musical space. And the complete piece exists as a 4-dimensional experience unfolding through time. Which gets us to the connecting part of all, which are waves. Waves as a universal language. First, we have mechanical waves, the kind you can physically see and feel. So, for instance, when I drop a stone into water, like this, the ripples you see are mechanical waves, just like the sound waves that carry music to your ears. So what I mean by propagation is that the disturbing factor is the stone and the propagation is actually the energy. Then we have electromagnetic waves, light itself. The colors you see, the images your brain processes all come from these invisible, massless messengers. But perhaps most fascinating are gravitational waves, which Albert Einstein predicted, and we've only recently detected. They move at the speed of light, just like most of the electromagnetic waves, but they are something entirely different. They are ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. Gravitational waves were documented not long ago by LIGO Labs, where 2 black holes merging with each other created such huge gravitational waves that it resonated through 1.3 billion light years. So, are you curious how they would sound like? Here's an example. Coming from the biggest to smallest waves to quantum reality, to quantum waves. Now, here's where things get really interesting and paradox. At the quantum level, everything exists as waves of probability until it's observed. This is called the collapse of the wave function and started with a double slit experiment, and it only collapses into definite reality when we observe it. The indefinite outcome is due to the paradoxical starting position, which is called superposition, and paradoxical being also that it inherits traits of waves and particles. Physicists discussed what theory might apply the best to explain all that comes with it, including the topics of freedom, time, and causality. The holographic principle, for instance, says what we experience in 3 dimensions might actually be encoded on a 2-dimensional surface like a hologram. If you're more interested, I would highly suggest to watch the videos from theoretical physicist Sean Carroll. Also very highly interesting are the videos from German quantum physicist Sabine Hossenfelder, where she talks about exactly these kind of theories, including one of her latest videos. The wave function of the universe might finally be calculable. So all of this, what does it tell us about the symbiotic partnership of vision and audio? None of this exists without consciousness. Our brains don't just passively receive these waves, they actively construct our reality from them. The same electromagnetic waves become colors in our visual cortex, and the same air vibrations become music in our auditory cortex. Sometimes even in a beautiful unison. The separation between visual art and music might be just that, a construction of our consciousness. Which brings us in full circle to artists who seem to intuitively understand these connections. Johann Sebastian Bach's architectural and mathematical structures that transform and decohere into something organical, Van Gogh's swirling skies, Debussy's shimmering compositions, Hokusai's great wave. They were all capturing the same fundamental truth that at the deepest level, all our experiences are waves waiting to be interpreted by consciousness. So music and vision, particle and wave, concrete and abstract, all unite in the dance of consciousness, so the point returns to itself, but transforms also our understanding. I'm Nathan Pike, I'm a professional musician, thanks for watching and see you next time.